Dante's Inferno, Canto 34. Vexilla regis prodeunt inferni, encountering us. Canst thou distinguish him? Look forward, said the master, as we journey. As when a thick mist breathes, or when the rim of night creeps up across our hemisphere, a turning windmill in the distance looms dim. I thought I saw a shadowy mass appear, then shrank behind my leader from the blast, because there was no other cabin here. I stood, I fear to tell it, where at last the shades, quite covered by the frozen sheet, gleamed through the ice like straws in crystal glass. Some lie at length, and others stand in it, this one upon his head, and that upright, another like a bow bent face to feet. And when we had come so far that it seemed right to my dear master that he should let me see that creature, fairest once of all the sons of light, he moved him from before me and halted me and said, "Behold this! Behold the place where thou must steel thy soul with constancy." How cold I grew, how faint with fearfulness, ask me not, listener. I shall not waste breath telling what words are powerless to express. This was not life, yet it was not death. If thou hast wit to think how I might fare bereft of both, let fancy aid thy faith. The emperor of the sorrowful realm was there. Out of the girding ice he stood, breast high, and to his arm alone the giants were less comparable than to a giant eye. Judge then how huge the stature of the whole, that to so huge a part bears symmetry. If he was once as fair as he's now foul, and dared outface his maker in rebellion, well may he be the fount of all our dole. And marvel 'twas, out-marvelling a million, when I beheld 3 faces in his head. The one in front was scarlet like vermilion, and 2, mid-centered on the shoulders, made union with this, and each with either fellow knit at crest in triune junction wed. The right was of a hue twixt white and yellow. The left was coloured like the men who dwell where Nile runs down from source to sandy shallow. From under each sprang 2 great wings that well befitted such a monstrous bird as that. I ne'er saw ship with such a spread of sail, plumeless, and like the pinions of a bat their fashion was. And as they flapped and whipped, 3 winds went rushing over the icy flat and froze up all Cocytus. And he wept from his 6 eyes, and down his triple chin runnels of tears and bloody slaver dripped. Each mouth devoured a sinner clenched within, frayed by the fangs like flax beneath a brake. 3 at a time he tortured them for sin. But all the bites the one in front might take were nothing to the claws that flayed his hide and sometimes stripped his back to the last flake. That wretch up there, whom keenest pangs divide, is Judas, called Iscariot, said my Lord. His head within, his jerking legs outside. As for the pair whose heads hang hitherward from the black mouth, the limbs of Brutus sprawl. See how he writhes and utters never a word. And strong-thewed Cassius is his fellow thrall. But come, for night is rising on the world once more. We must depart. We have seen all. Then, as he bade, about his neck I curled my arms and clasped him. And he spied the time and place, and when the wings were wide unfurled, set him upon the shaggy flanks to climb. And thus, from shag to shag descended down, twixt matted hair and crust of frozen rime. And when we had come to where the huge thigh bone rides in its socket at the haunches' swell, my guide, with labour and great exertion, turned head to where his feet had been, and fell to hoisting himself up upon the hair, so that I thought us mounting back to hell. Hold fast to me, for by so steep a stair, my master said, panting like one forespent, needs must we quit this realm of dull despair. At length, emerging through a rocky vent, he perched me sitting on the rim of the cup and crawled out after, heedful how he went. I raised my eyes, thinking to see the top of Lucifer as I had seen him last, but only saw his great legs sticking up. And if I stood dumbfounded and aghast, let those thick-witted gentry judge and say who do not see what point it was I'd passed. Up on thy legs, the master said. The way is long, the road rough going for the feet, and at mid-terce already stands the day. Well, the place we stood in was by no means fit for a king's palace, but a very natural prison with a vile floor and very badly lit. One moment, sir, said I, when I had risen. Before I pluck myself from the abyss, lighten my darkness with a word in season. Kindly explain what's happened to the ice. What's turned him upside down, or in an hour thus whirled the sun from dusk to dawning skies? Thou think'st, he said, thou standest as before, yon side the centre, where I grasp the hair of the ill worm that pierces the world's core. So long as I descended, thou wast there. But when I turned, then was the point passed by, towards which all weight bears down from everywhere. The hemisphere doth o'er thee lie, antipodal to that which land roofs in, and under whose meridian came to die the man before sinless and who did no sin. Thou hast thy feet upon a little sphere, of whose far side Judica forms the skin. When it is evening there, it's morning here. And he whose pelt our ladder was stands still, fixed in the selfsame place, and does not stir. This side, the world, from out high heaven he fell. The land which here stood forth fled back dismayed, pulling the sea upon her like a veil, and sought our hemisphere. With equal dread, belike, that peak of earth, which still is found this side, rushed up, and so this void was made. There is a place low down there underground, as far from Beelzebub as his tomb's deep, not known to sight, but only by the sound of a small stream, which trickles down the steep, hollowing its channel, where with gentle fall and devious course its wandering waters creep. By that hid way, my guide and I withal, back to the lit world, from the darkened dens, toiled upward, caring for no rest at all. He first, I following, till my straining sense glimpsed the bright burden of the heavenly cars through a round hole. By this we climbed, and thence came forth to look once more upon the stars